And welcome to the first edition ever of Audra'S Corner. It has been a very long wait, but finally we are here. So many people have been asking what Audra'S Corner is about. Well, Audra'S Corner is a platform where we give people to tell their stories and share with us their ideas. So many people have ideas. So many people have been doing very well in their various field of studies, in their various careers. But society might not recognize them, but they are doing very, very good. Audra'S Corner creates a platform for those people to tell their stories and share their ideas, which the world will or may be interested in knowing. This is the first episode ever of Audra'S Corner, and I am so excited because it's going to be informative, it's going to be educative, and we're going to have a lot of fun. Yes, a lot of fun. With me today, I have Jusu Mattia, a mental health expert. We're going to be discussing issues around mental health, its causes, its effects, and possibly provide solutions. So many people have been hearing about mental health, but does not know what is mental health and what causes mental health. Stay with me, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we continue with the conversation. Are you looking for a show that has everything? A show that is full of fun? A show that is full of energy? Well, look no more. Because Audra'S Corner is here for you. Yes, Audra'S Corner is a platform where we give people to tell their stories and share with us their ideas, which you will be interested in knowing. In my corner, I discuss everything: sports, entertainment, innovation, entrepreneurship, and a lot more. So join me this Friday and every other Friday on YouTube at exactly 7 p.m. You missing, you miss out. Yeah, it's the Audra'S Corner Talk Show. Welcome back. This is Audra'S Corner, and we are right here with Jusu Mattia, a mental health expert, who's going to be telling us about mental health, its causes, and its effects. Hello and welcome to Audra'S Corner.
Glad to have you.
I am so excited to have you in the first episode of Audra'S Corner. First of all, before we go into mental health proper, tell us, who is Jusu Mattia?
Well, this Mattia is a medical officer attached with the Sierra Leone Psychiatric Teaching Hospital at PC. Well, actually, I am not a mental health expert. I am a general practitioner, which means I can practice in any hospital, but not as a specialist. So as it stands now, I am working with the specialist who is Dr. Audra'S, and I have a number of colleagues with us working together. So this Mattia is simply a medical officer attached with Sierra Leone Psychiatric Teaching Hospital, and I'm glad to be here today.
Alright, and I am glad to have you. Now, what does it mean by mental health? So many people have heard the word mental health, but does not know what it means. So what does mental health mean?
Being able to think, to feel, and to behave proportionately to the stimuli that they receive from the environment.
Now you talk about the stimuli and all that. What can affect one's mental health?
Well, if we talk about things that affect your mental health, it's such a broad array of factors. You talk about the social aspect of the human. You talk about some disease processes that may crop up. You talk about the families with which you live with. You talk about genetic factors. You talk about the food you eat, the substances you take. Those are all things that can affect the mentality of a human being. So you can take each and every one of those aspects and ramify them. But generally speaking, you have those things that we have spoken about. each and every one of them can affect the mental health, the mental health and well-being of any individual. It does not matter your social status, it does not matter where you belong, but then these factors can affect you, as we have just mentioned.
Now, you made mention about the food you eat and the things you do, right? But I believe for every illness, you might have some signs and symptoms. So when you talk about mental health, what are some of the signs and symptoms that you have that will make you be aware that you are suffering from mental health?
Okay. Well, the signs and symptoms actually are specific to the type of mental health that you are suffering from. Mark you, when we talk about mental health, we are not merely talking about somebody that wears tattered clothing roaming up and down the streets. You can still be in your office, well dressed, but you are suffering from some form of mental health. Okay? So, but generally, signs and symptoms that one may experience when they suffer mental illness may include you may have what we call anorexia, that is poor appetite. You may also have insomnia, which is difficulty to go to sleep, or you may have disturbed sleep patterns. Maybe you go early to bed and wake up very early in the night and you don't sleep again. Okay? You may have nightmares. You may have enuresis, that is somebody does not get over themselves to urinate when they feel like it. Okay? It comes out spontaneously. They are not able to control their sphincter, the bladder sphincter. So that is another symptom of mental illness. You may also have confusion. You may be disorganized. You cannot put things in order. Okay? And then you may segregate yourself from the rest of society. You may seclude yourself. Somebody might want to stay in a room, separated from the rest of mankind, and that can happen for days or even months, depending on the level of severity of the mental illness. Okay? So, and somebody can also be just wasteful, extravagant. Okay? Those are all symptoms of mental illness. Especially if somebody has not been like this before, and then suddenly they start behaving in such manner. So there are a lot of symptoms that you can talk of, but those are just
you made mention of not having enough sleep, or you don't want to sleep at all. So is it safe to say that if someone is unable to sleep often, he or she is suffering from mental health?
Well, generally speaking, anybody can suffer from inability to sleep. It may not be that you have mental illness, but that is also one of the signs of mental illness, because you required me to mention some signs and symptoms of having mental illness. Okay, so it doesn't mean that if you do not sleep now, or you are finding it difficult to sleep, you have some mental illness. But then if it persists, let's say it goes on and on for days and weeks, you are not able to overcome it, then it suffices all to say that you might be suffering from some form of mental illness.
You made mention of something that is really funny but true, that people are in their coat and ties in their offices but are not mentally okay, and that's true, because I've seen people who are not mentally okay, but they seem okay, they look very good, they talk very good, but when it comes to the way they behave to other people, that's where the problem lies. So I can relate with you when you mentioned that people can be in their coat and ties, in their nice suits, but they can't be mentally okay. This is a serious problem. But one thing I want to ask is, what really causes this mental illness? What are some of the causes of mental health?
All right. So, of course, you mentioned the category of mental illness, and then you profile the causes that precipitate those mental illness. Okay? In the first place, we have what we call post-traumatic stress disorder. That is a mental illness that affects a lot of people that have gone through civil wars, that have gone through problems like Ebola, problems like mudslide, where they have lost loved ones at times they were not expecting. They can have mental illnesses. there are other people that can actually have mental illnesses as a result of acquiring those mental illnesses from their families. For example, there is a mental illness known as schizophrenia, which is the worst form of mental illness, which is a state of shattered mind. That one mostly is being acquired from the genetic line, and then it transcends down the generation. So, you may have some of these symptoms, some of these diseases locked down in your gene, but you don't show symptoms until there is something to trigger it. So let's say somebody has acquired a gene for schizophrenia, okay, and is now being exposed to marijuana, start smoking. That can trigger the mental health to start manifesting itself, okay. So, but smoking itself can stimulate disturbance in meditation, right? Think of marijuana, think of cocaine, think of heroin, smoking and the use of other hard substances. All those ones can precipitate mental illness, right? If you also talk about depression, it's another form of mental disorder, wherein the person is in a state of loneliness, in a state of dementia, wherein they have no contact with their relatives, they segregate themselves from them, and then they have loss of appetite, there is disturbance in sleep patterns, you know, they lose weight, and all these signs come in. That is another form of mental illness. We also have what we call mania. The mania is a type of mental illness wherein the patient becomes so much agitated. They think they are okay. They think they have the world at their hands. They are kings. You know, they are presidents. They tell you they have monies on the bank, and those ones can be precipitated by simply taking some substance, or they can just come up spontaneously, right? So we also have things like anxiety, which is another form of mental illness, okay? Which is not a very severe form. Of course, you have the neurotic form, and then you have the psychotic form. So the anxiety disorder falls under the neurotic mental illness. So you are not able to face situations, okay? You get overwhelmed by such a situation that commonly people can be able to cope up with, right? And you have symptoms that can set in such cases, like you have palpitation, difficulty breathing, you can sweat, okay? You tend to shy away from the trigger that may lead you to have all these things. You also have other mental illnesses, the sea, okay? Somebody can have phobias. They may not be able to come close to the sea, or they may not be able to open their eyes to see. Some are afraid of heights. Some are afraid of little insects or other animals. So those are all forms of
upon
mental illness.
all these forms of mental illnesses,
Yeah.
which one is common among Africans, to be specific?
Well, among Africans, it's actually substance-induced psychotic disorders.
And
As
what-
I told you, the substances they use like cocaine, marijuana, heroin, those ones, okay? And now we have push coming into play. We also have pampas coming into play. Those are the commonest causes of mental illness, and the category of mental illness referred to as substance-induced psychotic disorders, okay? So if you are taking those substances, they can induce any form of those types of disorders. That's the commonest form of mental illness that we have in Africa.
All right, and in addition, I think when you talk about this common one, we also have this depression thing. Yes, especially now we have this coronavirus, a global pandemic, where some find it hard to believe it exists, and some say it does. So people are depressed about how it's affecting lives, the business of people, when churches and mosques are closed and everything. So I think it's also another form of common mental illness in Africa. But now, does mental illness run in families? Like, does it run in bloods? Like, my father has mental health, I should have mental health, or my sisters or my siblings should have mental health. Does it run in families?
Yes, I think I earlier stated that there is a genetic component of mental illness. Even this thing known as this alcoholism, it sometimes runs in families. That is to say, if your father has been an alcoholic, there are chances that you can also be an alcoholic, or the grandchildren can be alcoholics, right? So mental illnesses, most of them actually run through family lines, right? So talking about the emergence of COVID-19 in relation to mental illness, we are to expect more mental illnesses as a result of this COVID-19. That is because the COVID-19 is actually a traumatic thing that has affected the entire world. You see, businesses are closed, people are separated from families, social distancing has been reinforced, you know. So all these things are ways that people can be depressed. Okay, so we are not expecting less in mental illness as far as COVID-19 is concerned. So, being that much attention is not being given to mental health, especially in this part of the world, it's a very big problem that we have, and we must deal with it with all seriousness. So, COVID-19, trust me, has to end up with a lot of mental health issues, as we can see.
As a media, we are now in the issue of COVID-19, the pandemic and all. As a media person, how would you assess the people's acceptance towards this COVID-19? Are they accepting that, yes, COVID-19 is real, or they are doing otherwise?
Well, to a large extent, I can say people have not truly accepted the reality behind the COVID-19. People have not accepted. And that is manifested in the fact that we have had a number of times, or times without number, on radios, on TVs, and on local pronouncements that people should maintain social distancing. But if you walk along the streets, you go to the markets, it's as if, you know, nothing is happening. Even though restrictions have been placed, people are not, you know, respecting the social distancing, which means they actually don't believe that it exists. And also, people are flashing back into the era of Ebola, wherein the death rates compared to now is there's relatively a far difference between Ebola and coronavirus. So they are saying, if this virus is real and it is killing people in their thousands, in their hundreds of thousands elsewhere, why is it that we are not dying at that rate? So that's another judgment some people practically put up to substantiate the fact that corona is not real, or even if it is real, it's not existing in our localities.
Mr. Mattia, why do you think people find it very difficult to accept the fact that COVID-19 is real and it does exist in Sierra Leone?
Well, actually, this is cultural, okay? It is very difficult for people to just believe, given the fact that we have this low standard of education in our country. The majority of the people are not educated, and then they can't go on the internet to see the reality, they can't understand. So, and we also have another set of people who are supposed to be the educated ones, and they are the ones that go about misleading people that this thing is not real, this is so and so, and people trust them more than what others tell them. So as a result, they end up not believing, because these are the people they have been with. And given the fact that they are not educated, there is hardly any way we can be able to convince them.
You know, exactly. I do agree with you the fact that you made mention of the mentality of Sierra Leoneans and the tradition. People find it very difficult to believe the fact that COVID-19 does exist because of the mentality rate of Sierra Leoneans. You know, you go out in the streets and tell people to maintain social distancing, to wash their hands for 20 seconds, and to avoid crowded places. They find it difficult to believe. You know, it's the mentality. So this thing, you know, they exist on country, you know,
Yeah.
and And it's
I can
so
tell you
bad.
something. Today, I was at the community care center at PMTC. And then when I entered to see the patients, a lot of them were asking questions. In the first place, they asked, why have you brought us here? We are not sick. The people don't know anything about the coronavirus itself. It's like somebody just took you from your home and dumped you somewhere else. Please stay here. And there was nothing you could tell that you have done or it's wrong with you for them to keep you in that confinement. But then we are taking our time gradually, especially for those that are admitted in the facilities. We explain to them so that they can understand. And upon discharge also, they should be able to educate their people around. Even though we have problem of stigma, but maybe we'll come to that.
We'll come to that because when it comes to the mentality of people, it goes a very long way. People find it difficult to believe the fact that COVID-19 does exist, and the government and other non-government organizations have been trying their best to see how far they can sensitize people and change their mentality that yes, indeed, COVID-19 does exist. Alright, continue to stop me. Of course, you are still watching Audra's Corner with me. I have Jusu, Mattia, but we'll go for a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We continue the conversation. Are you looking for a show that has everything? A show that is full of fun? A show that is full of energy? Well, look no more. Because Audra's Corner is here for you. Yes, Audra's Corner is a platform where we give people to tell their stories and share with us their ideas, which you will be interested in knowing. In my corner, I discuss everything: sport, entertainment, innovation, entrepreneurship, and a lot more. So join me this Friday and every other Friday on YouTube at exactly 7 p.m. You missing, you miss out. Yeah, it's the Audra's Corner Talk Show. Welcome back. You are still with Audra's Corner, and don't forget my corner. I discuss everything. Yes, I mean everything. With me today, I have Jusu, Mattia, and we are discussing issues around COVID-19 and mental health issues. Welcome back to Audra's Corner. Before we went for a short break, we spoke about the acceptance of people towards the COVID-19 and its causes. Now, what do you think needs to be done to ensure that people really accept the fact that COVID-19 is real and it does exist in Sierra Leone?
All right. I think the things we need to do, firstly, community engagement is key. You know, as I told you before, people have trust in their local authorities. And whatever they tell them, it is very likely that they take hook, line, and sinker. So the communities have major roles to play in the acceptance of this COVID-19 for people. So if the local authorities are to engage their community, tell them about the coronavirus, tell them the effects that it will have, tell them how much we are suffering as a result of this virus. I think that would be a big step towards helping people to understand the reality of the virus. And also, it should not only stop there. Of course, a lot of campaigns are ongoing now. We should not be fatigued at this time. It is not that we are getting the peak of the virus. Every day we get more cases. So let them intensify the real discussions, let them intensify the sensitizations on TV, and then let them have handbills all over teaching people to accept the reality of this virus. Because you and I know how much it has affected the economy, how much it has affected our movement, our social well-being, and all the rest of it. So we need to fight harder, okay? And that can be achieved primarily through local authorities, and then supported by the government and the civil society. And that will help.
And in addition to that, I also believe learning the people how to wash their hands can also go a long way, because you just go and tell them this is a Veronica bucket, wash your hands for 20 seconds and use hand sanitizer. You teach them how to go about this, how to wash your hands. People just wash their hands just like that, and it makes no sense. But you teach them how, when the seconds for 20 seconds or so, and how to use the face masks as well, and the hand sanitizers. So it is the role of each and every Sierra Leonean, not only the government, but it's a community responsibility. I have a role to play, you have a role to play, and I believe everybody has a role to play towards the fight against COVID-19. Now, you made mention of stigmatization. We had a case 90. He was under isolation center. He was in isolation center and he ran away. There were so many questions coming in. Why? Where might he has gone to and all that? Why do you think that that particular person had to choose to flee from the isolation center where he was safe at that particular time and he was being treated for COVID-19?
Alright. In the first place, it may come out of ignorance from the personnel himself that he doesn't understand what COVID-19 is. Because if he had understood what it was, he wouldn't have run away from the center. Because he was going to spread it to friends. Because when you run away, you are going to friends. You are not going to stay on the streets. You are not going to somewhere to find a hiding. So you are going to spread it to your friends, to your families, and that you could endanger their lives by so doing. So in the first place, I don't think he had accepted fully that he had this COVID-19. And then second, as we are talking about stigmatization, being that people, we are talking about HIV some years ago, now we are talking about COVID. People for sure don't believe that there is HIV, but they don't go for the test again. Okay? In as much as they don't believe that HIV exists, they don't go for the test. That is because of the stigmatization that surrounds somebody that is being confirmed of having this thing. So we also have cases of people being legally discharged from hospitals, and then when they got back to their communities, people started shying away from them, calling them corona. When they go to public places to fetch water and all those things, everybody runs away from them and start calling them names. So these are some of the things that would, prompt somebody, if you are at a treatment center, especially if you are not well edified and courageous, to just hide away. I think those are some of the reasons why this guy may have escaped from this treatment center where he was preferably safe to stay.
All right, I agree with you. When it comes to stigmatization, it has a lot to do with the family. Maybe the case 19, I'm not saying what it did was right, but maybe case 19 was just thinking, they say I have coronavirus. Will my family accept me back? Will the community accept me back? Will my friends and all that? So he had those thoughts in his mind, combined with the ignorance of him not knowing what COVID-19 really is, and that's led to him fleeing from the isolation center. But back to mental health, what do you think are some of the good tips for healthy mental health? Good tips that can guide you to have a healthy mental health.
Okay. In the first place, you may not know when you will have a mental health issue. Okay? That is because, of course, generally speaking, we have said the educational background of the country and Africa at large is very low. So even to know what mental health is, or how to be able to stay mentally fit, is difficult, given the fact that you are constrained in that area. So, but some tips to determine genetically whether you are susceptible to a particular mental health issue, judging from the fact that your parents have mental illness. Okay, so maybe your great grandfather had something that had to do with mental health, but you don't know. And then there is no screening process that is ongoing there. So the best thing to do is to run away from the trigger. Of course, we have what we call the precipitating factors. We have the perpetuating factors, we have the prognostic factors. So those things that will precipitate the mental health, even though you are at risk of having a mental health, if you shy away from those ones, for example, alcohol, right? Even though you are at risk of having mental health, which you may not know, but if you shy away from alcohol, you may not come down with mental illness. If you shy away from harmful drugs, you may not come down with mental health illness. Okay? And then, of course, the social issues, it is difficult to predict whether you can be able to shy away from something or not. For example, giving COVID, you never know when you will have COVID. You never know when a loved one will die and then leave you in limbo. You never know when there will be an accident that will involve somebody that you love so much that will cause you a mental health. So some of those ones, it's difficult to predict what exactly to do. Okay? But then you can also have what we call sleep hygiene, sleep well, and then you have time, you have specific times allocated for sleeping. Eat good food, and then have time to relax. You know, the mind, when you have gone through a stressful day, you come back home, you have time to relax, or during weekends you go out and stay with families, connect with your families, you have social support. And then when you find out you are having things, you are having experiences that are different from what you previously had, it is good to seek a counselor, to seek the opinion of a friend, a family member, or you can even go to hospital so that they can be able to advise you as to how you can do it. So those are just few tips that you can be able to stay mentally healthy.
You know, I've honestly learned something today because I have not been keeping to all those tips, you know, like going out and share with people what's bothering me and all. But I have learned that now to keep myself mentally healthy, I need to go out with family and friends and share with loved ones what's bothering me and all that. You know, this is good because this can help us along when it comes to having a good mental health facility. How common mental health issue among youths? How is it common among youths?
Well, frankly speaking, we have not had a statistic to show how much of the population of youth that are affected by mental health. But from what we can see on a daily basis, okay, we can state with a high level of confidence that mental health is highly prevalent in the youth of our society. And that can be shown by the activities that they participate in. You know, you have social vices, you have alcoholism, you have use of, you know, drugs. Those are all issues of mental health. And that is more prevalent in youth that we have in our community. Now you see a good number of patients that are admitted in the psychiatric hospital are within the youth stage. Okay? So that is another signal. If you can just walk into the statistics of the total number of patients admitted at the hospital, you will know that the prevalence of mental health is very high in youth of today as compared to the rest of the population.
Alright, just before you go, let just tell us what are some of your advices for us, me included, to maintain that very good mental health habit? What would you advise us to do and continue doing to ensure we have a very, very good mental health ability and habit?
Alright, it's not different from what happens in other places. So just like I told you, I think I forgot to mention good exercise. Okay? Because when you exercise, you release a lot of chemicals in your body that are antioxidants that will knock off some of those stress hormones and all the chemicals that will keep you stressed and that might lead you into mental health issues. So exercise is very good. You have to exercise as much as you can. And then, as I said, you also eat healthy food, not just eat all sorts of food. You have to eat healthy food. And then you have to stay connected with your family members. Okay? Make sure you talk to a friend on a daily basis, talk to a brother, a sister who is either close or far away. And then make sure you you have you have time for relaxation, right? Have time for relaxation, and then you can be able to overcome the stress of the day, and you can be able to move on for the next day. Also have time to discuss issues that have to do with your mental health with people that are the relevant bodies that will help you out. Okay? So these are some of the things I can advise that somebody stays healthy. And then refrain from the use of harmful drugs. Refrain from the use of harmful drugs. Okay? Alcohol, we see alcohol going up to 47%, and people take, they take drink the amount of such alcohol. You cannot take for 40 grams of 47% of alcohol just by waking up in the morning, and you expect your system to stay healthy. So stay away from harmful substances, and then you are sure to some extent staying mentally healthy.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. He is Jusu Mattia, and I'm sure my viewers have learned a lot about mental health, its causes, its effect, and don't forget to keep mentally healthy. You need to exercise often, eat good food, you relax with family and friends, and share with your loved ones or someone very close to you issues about your mental health. And most importantly, avoid the use of drugs. I mean, like serious drugs, harmful drugs to your system. Many thanks to my viewers. Many thanks to my producer, Esther Karita Wali. Of course, my makeup artist, Lizzie's Church. Many thanks to you, Lizzie. My camera operators behind the camera, Joseph Lamboy and Alinti Shine Jallo. Thank you very much. Until we meet again next week with a new episode of Audra'S Corner. Continue to stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, wear face masks, continue to maintain social distancing. Until we meet again next week, I have been yours truly, Audra'S Nyambe Sannoh. Goodbye. Are you looking for a show that has everything? A show that is full of fun? A show that is full of energy? Well, look no more, because Audra'S Corner is here for you. Yes, Audra'S Corner is a platform where we give people to tell their stories and share with us their ideas, which you will be interested in knowing. In my corner, I discuss everything: sports, entertainment, innovation, entrepreneurship, and a lot more. So join me this Friday and every other Friday on YouTube at exactly 7 p.m. You missing, you miss out. Yeah, it's the Audra'S Corner Talk Show.